Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa. It's fitting that we have my next guest on the show on Remembrance Day because he also served as a military engineer with the British Royal Marines in Iraq and Afghanistan. And you may ask yourself, well then, why did he become a chiropractor? How did that happen? Well, Dr. Craig Hindson is the principal chiropractor at Loving Life Chiropractor. Welcome. Great to have you here. And thank you. I mean, you brought along some of your medals here, and I just wanted, yeah. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your service, and yes. you were very honest with me just a moment ago and said that this had an incredible impact on your life, your service, right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, I was in 3 war zones in 15 years. The last 2 were the Royal Marine Commandos, as you mentioned. Afghanistan for the war, 2002. First went in 2003 for the war in Iraq, and I lost a few friends there. And a lot of guys that were working for me. And when I came back, felt okay. When I came back, started to get super busy, and then about 6 months later, I completely lost it. I ended up going under medical care for a couple of weeks without, I had no choice.
Right.
And it took me about 8 to 10 years to get out of that abyss. I actually even wrote a book. It's not the purpose of today's show, but I wrote a book on, actually, funnily enough, the healthy measures that I took to get out of the abyss. I met my wife in Plymouth in England when I was serving with the Marines, and she was a chiropractor. And
really?
I said, okay. I was an engineer. So
I see how this may have connected then.
Yeah, exactly. So she said, I'm a chiropractor. And I said, oh yeah, bad necks, bad backs is a waste of time. Because my stepfather was a builder. And I was quite arrogant and quite ignorant. I was like, yeah, well, actually, I was 30. I had no excuse, but I was arrogant and ignorant. I was going to say I was 21, but that was earlier. And she said, no, you don't understand. I help improve nerve system function. It means I help children come off of asthma inhalers. I help older people with learning disabilities. I help all sorts of stuff. She actually had a foster mum that would bring her babies that had been born addicted to drugs and alcohol, because the foster mum found that they were like really hyper, because obviously the whole nerve system's messed up, and just by very gentle adjustments, and for a baby it's just a tiny vibration, and the foster mum found that it really calmed the baby down. And then part of my recovery, like years later, I was taking very regular chiropractic care, but not just that. I was doing exercise, I was doing eating the right stuff, and like obviously doing the work to work out what was best for me. Good mental attitude, so things like meditation and prayer, really important. And rest, which actually is huge. I don't believe how huge it is.
Really?
But, getting 8 hours sleep can reverse a lot of mental health issues. Not using things like alcohol. I'd used far too much of that as a young man, and that 100% affected me a great deal. But yeah, so
and you've come to be as well. Yeah, there you go. And you've come to be what you term as the migraine whisperer. Tell me about that.
Thank you. Yeah, so I met my wife. She talked about all these things. I was very black and white because I was an engineer and very skeptical. I took up chiropractic care. And after about a year, I was a different guy. My energy levels were through the roof. I wasn't getting all the coughs and colds. I would get about 8 to 10 coughs or colds a year.
Really?
But now I can count on 2 hands the amount of coughs and colds I've had in the last 20 years. Now, again, this is just one man's experience. Okay? As I am a registered chiropractor, I'm not making any crazy claims. This is my experience. It's different for different people.
It's very individual to each person, for sure.
But one thing that isn't individual that I realized, I went to a workshop. My wife made me go to this workshop when I first found out about chiropractic care and made those ignorant statements. And at the end of the workshop, I was like, this stuff makes sense. I was an engineer. It all kind of clicked into place. I'm going to become a chiropractor. So fast forward 12 years. Here we are in Canada. My wife's French-Canadian, so we're back here in Canada. I retrained in Buffalo, qualified as a chiropractor, and I actually retrained at the age of 44.
Okay.
Because I was so inspired by what I was seeing. Like, we had lots of people in our office whose migraines, but not just migraines, all sorts of things. people say that chiropractic care isn't a cure for anything. You know, you hear some scientific and medical people talk about that, and that is actually true. I'm a first principle chiropractor, and the first principle was you have this beautiful intelligence within you that creates 10 million cells every single second. And that intelligence has been doing that for 350,000 years.
Right.
You know, if you believe that model. But
Yeah.
if let's use it as a working argument.
Yeah.
So how can if that's been doing it for 350,000 years, how can an external idea that this is good for your health truly be as powerful as this intelligence that's been doing 2 billion things every single second within our bodies, whereas our educated mind can only process 50 things a second.
Right.
So as a first principle chiropractor, I default to the intelligence within your body. So it's kind of a surprise. A lot of practice members say to me, you know, can you help me with my migraines? And I tell them, I don't know. But what I do know is I can rebalance your spine, take pressure off the nerve system, and then maybe that intelligence within you can do the healing and repairing.
I've got a minute left.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the neck in particular, because this is something that you brought up.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is the top, this is a spine. Most people have seen a spine before. The very top bone surprises a lot of people. It's actually a ring, so it's not a block. Now, the spinal cord comes down through this ring.
Okay.
This is the master control switch. If this is out of balance, this is where a lot of people I find when they get excruciating migraines, this is often the culprit. If it's out of balance, it can put pressure on the nerves, or there's actually a few preliminary studies that say it can actually affect the flow of CSF around the brain.
And you're saying you can actually teach people how to move this thing?
I can show your viewers now if they want to, not to move it, but just to identify it. So if you touch behind your ears.
We're going to have you back.
This
is what I'm going to do.
Back?
Yeah, because we're running out of time here, and I want you to come back and talk about this, because I want to learn some more. We will have him back. Don't you worry. We'll be back with more right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Banana. Hey there guys, it's Dr. Craig. I really hope you enjoyed that show, and I hope you learned something. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Migraine Whisperer and Hindson tips to improve migraines and why they occur, then just click on the playlist that's going to appear just shortly top right. And if you want to come in and see me risk-free, talk face-to-face about your issues, then there is a free 15-minute consultation available. So just go through to lovinglifechiropractic.com. Thanks a lot.